What's your regimen like when you go out to train?
Oh man. I mean, I run 70 miles a week. So probably in
You're like a commuter.
the gas from the crowd.
Yeah, like the audible gas from the room.
You need an electric leg or something. Welcome to A Touch More live, everybody, from South by Southwest. We are thrilled to be here. We are here on the Vox Media podcast stage, presented by Smartsheet. And a big thanks to L'Oreal Paris, our Touch More sponsor, for sponsoring this live show. We're going to get right into it. We haven't had a ton of time to explore, admittedly, because we just got here late last night. But I did get a breakfast taco this morning.
You did. You're very excited.
I beelined it right to it. I had to.
I know. We do love coming to Austin, although I imagine it's tough for some of the Longhorn fans. Women's basketball, he took the L today.
Oh, it didn't go good?
Was the game over?
See.
Yeah. I mean, you lost the coin toss.
Dang.
That was tough. And then lost the SEC championship. But you'll be a number one seed.
Oh, man.
You'll be a number one seed.
How does that work?
It's called the NCAA tournament.
You just get
There's
lost to get
a selection
okay.
show. And
all right.
it's a whole thing.
Okay. This is crazy. You're going to have to tell me about this later. If you listen to our podcast, you know we like to discuss all the ways in which Sue and I are dramatically different. We will have one of those tonight. It's a nighttime go to sleep issue. How do you go to sleep? Are you a Megan? Are you a Sue? We're going to ask for your participation in this at some point. So just stay tuned.
And we also have two amazing guests for you. Nikki Hiltz is here. Gabby Thomas is here. Yep. Well, we'll put them through an interview and then some games. We love to play games, so.
Oh, yeah, we do. We're going to dive into some of the biggest issues and biggest topics in women's sports. Everything is popping off as it has been for the whole last year, so we're excited to talk about those things. With that, I'm Megan Rapinoe.
And I'm Sue Bird. This is A Touch More. Let's get into it.
Support for this show comes from Smartsheet. The best teams don't just work, they flow. And Smartsheet is the work management platform where work flows. Smartsheet transforms how teams operate, allowing them to automate teamwork, collaborate, and stay on track. Whether your team is managing multiple projects or rapidly scaling, Smartsheet has the tools to cut through the chaos and get work done. Smartsheet, where work flows. Learn more at smartsheet.com/Vox.
Support for A Touch More comes from Intuit. Reaching the right small businesses starts with the right data. Intuit SMB Media Labs is a first-of-its-kind small business ad network. With access to audiences and insights from the makers of QuickBooks, you can target key decision makers by industry, size, maturity, location, and more. It's your gateway to B to SMB marketing success. Learn more at medialabs.intuit.com. All month long, Paramount Plus celebrates Women Who Move Mountains, a special collection of series and movies spotlighting remarkable women's stories and talents in front of and behind the camera. Need a laugh? Check out comedy favorites like After Midnight, hosted by Taylor Tomlinson, as well as hit CBS comedies Elsbeth, starring Carrie Preston, and Ghosts, starring Rose McIver, all streaming on Paramount Plus. Head to ParamountPlus.com to learn more about Women Who Move Mountains.
So Megan, you brought up getting into some of the topics around women's sports. How would you describe to the audience this moment that women's sports is having right now?
I feel like we've arrived. We're like at the place that we've been asking to be for a very long time. I mean, for what feels like my whole life. I was like birthed with this like script of like women's sports is the coolest shit ever, I swear. And I feel like it's really at that moment. And now I feel like we're at this moment where it's like, okay, this other set of really hard work is what needs to be done. It's the building of the foundation, the business building, the really like professionalization of women's sports at this moment. I feel like that's like really where we are in order to make it become what we really believe it will be and what it has had the potential to be this entire time.
I usually like to use some story or analogy to describe how I'm feeling about things. In this particular moment, this is how I would describe the moment that women's sports is having. I ran into a literal billionaire the other day who I had become
are real
friendly
people.
with. He's like 2 or 3 time B. We had become friendly a couple years ago, and he reminded me that in 2018, 19, around then, I was like, let's buy a WNBA team. Like, let's do it. And he's like, and I looked at you like you were crazy, and I regret that all the time now. And I just feel like that really describes it.
Yeah. It would have been like 4 million.
Oh, he would have we would have gotten
10
in
million
for like
maybe?
3-4 million. I would have probably given like $5. And
it's fine.
instead now it's, $250 million to buy a team. So it's pretty incredible. But obviously part of that movement, things are booming, but part of that is ensuring that it lasts. So how do you see that? How do you see into that happening?
Well, again, a little bit to what I said, and securing these capital B billions and that sort of investment, but a little bit what I said, like really building the foundation from all that we know about sports, period. I think something that actually is really advantageous to women's sports is the fact that men's sports is a very mature business, has been around for a long time. We know all that works in men's sports. We know all that doesn't work in men's sports. Like everything has been test cased a million times. So I feel like we can take all of that and use that expertise, use the excitement of the moment and the huge influx of capital and investment and funding to build a really solid foundation. We're probably gonna have to like move faster than is comfortable. There's so much money coming in, there's so much excitement, and that's okay. But I think we're at this moment where it's really important to like be strategic and to build a really solid foundation. I also think that having people that have been in the game a long time. We've talked about this before on the pod, but there's a lot of, new people, whether it be new owners or new fans or whatever, and that's amazing. The doors are open. We want to cast a really, really wide net, but using the expertise that has been in the space, whether that's former players, people who have worked in the league, whatever it may be, using that expertise to build the platform for this specific product, because it is different than anything else. It's a beautiful beast all in and of itself and on its own. And I feel like if we are really smart and strategic that way, use all that we know, then we'll be setting ourselves up for an amazing next 25 to 100 years. Something like that, Yeah. We are in March. I feel like this is like your month.
It's January, February, Yukon, April. Isn't that how it goes?
You guys are insufferable.
I know. Everybody hates us and we love it.
I know. I just like, you're just a contender every year. And so you guys just get to show up every year. Like, it's UConn again. Sorry. March. Since it is March, we do want to talk about the tournament a little bit. What does success look like, particularly in the context of last year's tournament? But what does success look like in UConn 2025?
We actually haven't won in a while, so let me shut up.
Well, that is true.
Since 2016, that's considered a while.
Honestly, we got together and I was promised championships, and all I've gotten is heartbreaking losses from UConn. I
maybe
feel
it's
like
you.
I'm cursing the team. I
Maybe
know.
it's
I've said
you.
this to CD, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I will not come, or I will sit far away. It's just like I want to win. Anyways, what does success look like for this NCAA tournament?
I actually think the regular season there's been so much parity. Success is just going to be the unknown. It's going to be tuning into games, the 8 versus the 9 seed. I don't know. The 3 versus whatever, the 14. I don't know. That's going to be success, is that I think this tournament has that type of parity. So it'll be really exciting to watch. But obviously we live in a world where metrics and data and numbers comes into play. So, given the viewership from last year, which was, 18.8 million in the final game. I think that Final Four averaged 13.8. You look at the 2023 Final Four, that averaged 6.5, huge jump there, 9.9 for the final game. 2023, a drop off to 4.8 million. I say these numbers to say, I think this year, the success is like 8 million plus in the Final Four. I think that around that viewership is a huge success. That marks like, we're here.
Is there like just too much pressure on women's sports to constantly like break every single record and exceed every single expectation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I
It
know.
feels
Every
like
time they
that.
break a record, it's like, well, when are you going to do it again?
Yeah, I know. That's
Meanwhile-
what they always say to us. We're like, well, probably next year.
I know. But yeah, I think there is a pressure in that's how the sport or sports get judged in terms of, should we pay attention? Should we invest? Should we put it on TV? Do we care? It's getting based year after year. And the juxtaposition there is, if you were to look, you made a really good point in that men's sports, they've done it, right? They are the test case study that we can pull from. I don't love being compared. I don't love
Agreed.
being compared, but we can learn. What you see in men's sports, and the NBA is a great example right now, their NBA finals viewership was lower than it was the 2 seasons before. And yet they still got a $23 billion media deal. So my point is, there are ebbs and flows in viewership. And we're using that as this one metric, but here we are. There's ebbs and flows, and we're okay with that in men's sports. We're okay with that. When it's low, we like to dissect why. When it's high, we like to find the reasons and applaud them. We understand if LeBron and Steph are in the finals, it's just going to get more eyeballs than if it's another matchup. And we're totally okay with this, and we continue to show up and reward it. And I just think women's sports needs to start to get that same thing. Not really look at the year to year, but really zoom out and look at the macro and the trend of it all. And I think that's the conversation we need to start having.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's like this ship isn't moving backwards.
No.
We know that.
No. But with this movement does come areas of growth. So even though we are on the up and up, there are areas of growth. What do you see needing to be the focus right now?
I think first and foremost is just like continuing to secure funding, money, capital, investment, all of that. Like one of the main reasons, this is like drives me nuts. One of the main reasons that women's sports hasn't been able to grow is because we haven't had the investment. It's like if you're trying to like grow a multi-million or billion-dollar business and you're like operating on a budget of nothing every year, you're not going to be able to do that. So how do we bring in, and with huge, investment and capital coming in, you're gonna get expertise that comes around that. Like nobody's just like giving money and walking away. They got that money for a reason. And so how can we also leverage the expertise and the intelligence and the know-how in that space? I think with that, investing in the business of, or the business around the actual business, which obviously is the playing of the game on the sport and the product. So that's everyone from like securing talent in the front office. That's marketing, that's ticket sales. That is, leveraging the fan experience. How do you optimize the fan experience so that when they come, like, yes, the product on the court or the field or whatever is going to be amazing, but like, what about everything else? Make this an event that people want to come back to for multiple different reasons. I think that is something that has been missing from women's sports for a long time. For a lot of different reasons, but I think like the overall securing of like talent and expertise around the actual game and team is going to be huge. That comes also with building practice facilities and arenas and, giving the players a first class experience, but again, giving the fan and the consumer a first class experience as well. And then I think a big one is becoming fluent in just the language and the how they do things of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It's like, what is Gen Alpha? Are they even born yet? I think our niece is Gen Alpha, but
They
it's
are.
like,
They say stuff like skippity bop.
yeah, I'm like, we don't even know what's going on, but I know they're on those iPads and they're going to apps and they're like showing us TikToks of Paige Beckers and her teammates. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But I think, exactly. So I need to become fluent in the language of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I think like, understanding how to meet them with this product where they are. So of course through social media, of course through, smaller clippable things, but like, is that part of the fan experience? Is that, getting into the community? Is that making the little girl as excited and dreaming of pro sports like the little boy is now? I think we see that a lot with little boys. There's intergenerational fans from parents on down to kids, grandparents on down to kids. And so being able to be fluent with them and meet them where they're the youngest, obviously, consumer base that we have. And we have the potential to capture them now and have them for hopefully decades to come.
Well said.
Yeah. So that's our diatribe on women's sports.
Support for this show comes from Smartsheet. You know that feeling you get when you're so into a task that the entire world around you goes quiet? Maybe you're out for a run and start to feel like you're flying. Or maybe you're playing guitar and an hour zipped by. Or maybe you're so focused on a work task that you forget it's actually work. This time-stopping, world-quieting, focused feeling is called flow. In today's workplace, that state of flow is very hard to come by. There are all those different applications you have to toggle between, calls that could have been emails, and no one central place where you can tackle all your tasks. Except there is such a place, Smartsheet. Smartsheet is the work management platform where work progresses smoothly and efficiently, enabling teams to operate at their peak. Smartsheet isn't just a tool, it's a place where teams can operate in a state of flow, no matter the scale or complexity of their work. Let time stop. Let the world fall away. Smartsheet can handle the rest. Smartsheet, where work flows. Visit smartsheet.com today to learn more.
Support for A Touch More comes from Intuit. When it comes to small business marketing, reaching the right audience starts with the right data. Intuit SMB Media Labs is a first-of-its-kind small business ad network that helps your marketing work smarter. By leveraging exclusive audiences and insights from the makers of QuickBooks, you can connect the right customers efficiently and effectively. Intuit SMB Media Labs puts your brand in front of millions of small businesses that need you most, targeting key decision makers by industry, size, maturity, and location. More than just an audience, it's your SMB media partner. Learn more at medialabs.intuit.com.
We're really excited to have some guests. They are in the back, and I think they are ready to come out. We have two of the most exciting track athletes in the country, for sure. Speaking of the growth of women's sports, our next two guests are growing their sport with the new Grand Slam track, which kicks off in April. Please welcome to the stage three-time Olympic gold medalist Gabby Thomas and Olympian and newest 1,500 and 3,000 meter indoor champ Nikki Hiltz. Bring them out!
We'd get up and hug you, but this is a whole sit. Once you're locked in,
jail right now.
you're locked in.
We're in. We're locked. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks
welcome,
for
welcome.
having us.
Welcome to the stage. Sorry, we told you it was going to be like 5 to 10 minutes, and we ended up taking 15. Welcome to our show.
Yeah.
This is usually how it is. We go way long.
Guys, our brown and pink hues are just really
on
awful.
I know.
We didn't even talk about this. This is great. We look good. We look good.
Okay, we're going to jump right in. You guys are both a part of the Grand Slam track, which feels like it's in an attempt trying to solve this problem that Megan and I, a bunch of athletes have seen, which is when your sport, especially for the Olympics, is every 4 years, how do you keep the interest going in the interim? And for you, Gabby, you know, this was your second Olympics, and I'm curious if you see a difference in that interest from post 2020 Olympics versus post 2024 Olympics.
Yes, actually, it's very interesting to see the world kind of stop for the Olympics, and especially for track and field during these Olympic years. And for me, I mean, my Olympic team in 2021 was the first US team that I had ever made. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And I kind of got a taste of what it was like to be a professional runner. And all eyes were on me and my teammates. And it was so exciting. And for the few months after the Olympics, you know, that kind of remained steady. And, we were getting a lot of attention and excitement. And suddenly for the next season, like all of that just disappears. And I wouldn't say that I was surprised, because even growing up, it's not like I saw track or watched track or knew where to watch it. It's not like I knew any track athletes other than, my idols, Allison Felix, Carmelita Jeter, Sonia Richards-Ross, for example. But I wasn't following the sport. And so I think that reality check kind of hit in, like, what is going on with the sport of track and field? Like, why can't we sustain this attention and a following, like a fan base? And then Paris Olympics roll around a few years later, and it all happens again. You see all of the media start to give us attention. They're writing articles about track athletes, and we go to the Olympics and we compete, and we're everywhere, and our face is everywhere, and we're still kind of riding that high now. And the question now is, I think, how do we maintain that? And I think we have a great set of leaders in our sport right now, and a great set of leaders who have come before us who are trying to change that narrative and grow the sport even more. And that's what Grand Slam is. So I'm really excited that Nikki and I are a part of that, because I think it's imperative in our sport to keep it alive.
Yeah, it's got to be crazy to go from like the marquee thing at the marquee sports event, not every year, like in the world every 4 years, to there's not a place to continue to capture that. It just seems dumb.
And I mean, the interest is there, exactly. So it seems so dumb because people are tuning in. They know who we are and they want to watch. And track is so simple. Everyone can understand it. Everybody has run a race. Everyone has run, the mile. They've tried to run as fast as they can. And so you understand there's a winner and there are losers. And it's just such a perfect fan experience. So why isn't there a simple place for people to go watch it if they want to watch it? I mean, if I asked anybody in the room right now when they're going to watch the next track race, you probably couldn't tell me what you were watching or where. Why?
2028 in LA.
Yeah, 2028. There you go. Exactly, 2028. That's when you'll tune in next. And I think the other issue with track that Grand Slam definitely fixes is athletes showing up to compete. I think one of the biggest kind of barriers in our sport is we don't have a structure where we're mandated to run. So if there is a league or there are races going on, we don't have to show up. So what fan wants to tune in to a race and you're not even sure if athletes are running, right? So Grand Slam kind of ensures that we're contracted to run. We're going to be there. We're going to show up. You don't feel healthy that day, it's too bad. If you don't feel like you're going to break a record or PR, it's too bad. You're going to show up, lace up, and race. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, go out there and do your best. Yeah. Speaking of doing your best, Nikki, congratulations on competing in your first Olympics. Incredible.
Thank you.
Throughout the summer. Yeah, amazing. You just swept USATF Indoor Championships. From a performance level, seems like you're on fire. Seems like you're doing great. How has this last 12 months been, really, and how are you feeling?
It's been great. Yeah. I mean, kind of opposite to Gabby. This was my first Olympic team, but I had in the past couple of years been making our world championship teams, and it's awesome. It's, in 2023 is a big stadium in Budapest. But then it was making an Olympic team was like, oh, this is different, and it's the one time the rest of the world watches our sport. And it was incredible. Like it felt like a 10-day fever dream in Paris. Like, but it was awesome.
A great Olympics. We didn't compete, but we were there.
Yeah.
That's probably why it was even better.
That's why it was better.
We were actually enjoying it.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was, just awesome. Obviously just like a childhood dream, like come true. And but the past 12 months, I think it's just been a blur. I think I kind of started running really well at a really good time to start running well, it's just been a blast.
Sometimes it works like that.
How was your first Olympics? So like, not obviously the track is the track, but just how were the cardboard beds? How was the muffin? How the lilac track was chef's kiss.
Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a highlight for me was the opening ceremonies for sure. And it was hilarious because it was pouring rain and we were on this boat and like,
you guys got great pictures though.
So funny. Yeah. We were on ponchos. I'm like, Ralph Lauren is like, what are they doing in my suits? And it was probably the worst outfit to be in pouring rain, just like, jeans. But we actually had these like boat shoes that were kind of waterproof, which like kind of worked out actually really great. But I think that was a highlight. And it was like, I don't know, maybe there was some criticism about the opening ceremonies from like the fan perspective, but for the athletes, it was so fun. Like it was pouring down rain. It was kind of getting cold, but like nothing could like rain on our parade, literally. It was really fun. And then, cardboard beds was interesting. I stayed about, I think 3 nights in the village, and then the other 7, I stayed at my partner's Airbnb, just because I felt like the energy had really shifted. I was there for the opening ceremonies, and it was like I said, party time. And then I went away for 8 days because track was at the very end of the Olympics, so I went up to altitude. And then when I came back into the village, I was like, oh, this is different vibes, because it was like the competition had started, and you could feel the nervousness, the energy, and I was like, get me out of here, get me out. So it was, I feel like I really got the whole experience.
Yeah, I actually skipped the opening ceremonies because I don't know. I think it looked really fun on TV. I will say that. It looked like everyone had a great time on the Instagram stories and everything. But I think I was in such a, like you mentioned, locked in mode at that point still. Like I was like, I can't even imagine going out in the rain right now and being like in this opening ceremonies is a very long process, right? It looks really fun, but it's like you're there for like 6 hours, like waiting in line, and then like being on the bus and waiting on the bus, and then being on the boat, and then you can't leave the boat. And I was like, I might have a panic attack if I go to opening ceremonies before I have to compete. So I opted out of it, but it looked really fun. But I think my entire Olympic experience was, like Nikki said, like I was locked in, and track and field is the last event at the Olympics. So you kind of spend the 2 weeks just waiting to compete. You don't get to compete and get it over with and then enjoy your time there. It's like, no, I'm watching the swimmers go. I'm watching them like enjoy their medals. I'm watching the gymnasts go, like enjoy their medals, and then like we get to go. So in that sense, it was a little bit stressful, but I definitely had the chocolate muffins. I mean, I was eating one a day. Like it was such a highlight. And the food in Paris was so great too. And that was really fun. And the cardboard beds, I mean, they were, it is what it is,
They were cardboard.
Cardboard.
Yeah, I've been to 3 Olympics. I've been to 0 opening ceremonies and 1 closing ceremony. You've done a lot more of the things, but we had to play the whole time. We played the whole through. We're like start before it starts and end basically at the end. So they got us working. I don't know. I think it might be better than like sitting around and stressing and waiting and like training, and what kind of training are you even doing?
Just don't get injured, essentially.
Yeah,
right? Like,
basically. We want to ask you both about Grand Slam track and both of your decision to add that to your schedule and just like what went into that. But also, can you just explain for everyone like what exactly Grand Slam track is? As you mentioned, track isn't part of our sort of, consciousness or zeitgeist all the time. And this is really exciting that it is now. So explain to us that, and then each of your decision to participate.
Yeah, I think a good way to put it is like the Olympics is the best in the world coming together once every 4 years, and Grand Slam is the best in the world coming together 4 times a year. So there's 4 Grand Slams. There's one in Kingston, Jamaica, Miami, Philly, and LA. And those take place April 2nd, so April 4th is the first one, and then the last one's in end of June. So it's like in a 4-month period, and that's like our regular season. And then championship season starts. So it just kind of like guarantees that you're going to see the best in the world going head to head 4 times within these like 4 months. And there's different event categories, and I'm in the short distance category, which is the 800 and 1500. So at each Grand Slam, I'll have to run an 8 and a 15. And the collective winner is like the combined, whoever has the lowest score. So I don't know. Yeah, so it's cool. It's like
not on the same day.
No.
Okay. No.
Yeah, the next day though. And then Gabby, you're in the long distance or long sprint category. So you'll be running 2 and 4. And I think I decided to do it. Maybe this is shallow of me, but for the money. Like it's
that's a great point.
Make that
crazy.
money. 100%.
It is.
I'm trying to get my bag.
It's the highest prize purse in our sport.
If
right?
you win the world championships, you will get less money than if you win 1 Grand Slam.
Wow.
Like, what are we? Thank you. Yeah. What are we doing here, guys? Yeah.
Well, that's a really important piece of it, though. I mean, it's really not shallow at all, because in our sport, you don't get paid, essentially. I mean,
no one would say that about a doctor. Like, oh, you took a job because it pays well.
Exactly. So no, I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because it's really striking to me how in track and field in our sport, unless you have an outside sponsorship, it is very, very hard to make a living. Mainly what we have been doing before Grand Slam is there aren't opportunities to compete in the U.S. for money. So we are traveling abroad to go compete. Outside of Grand Slam, if you were prior to this year, you go abroad to compete in what we call the Diamond League, and you have the opportunity to make $10,000 if you win your race. And you do still have to, if it's not covered, pay for your travel, your agent fees, coaching fees, and all of that. So hopefully
That's like
you go
That's
and
like the whole 10,000.
there it goes. I mean, a lot of athletes go abroad to run and they come back in debt. That happens a lot. Right. And so now not only are you not making money, but now you're in debt. But and some do really well. They go stack meets and they come back with tens of thousands of dollars. But it just depends, right? You really do eat what you kill in our sport. In our main championship, the Diamond League finals, I mean, you can win $50K. I think they may have upped it this year. I'm not sure. But it was
$30K, yes.
Oh, it was $30K. Now, no, they upped it to $50K. Yeah, it was $30,000 if you won the whole championship. So this is a really big deal for us, having an opportunity to go compete and actually make a livable wage by running. So it's huge.
Support for the show comes from Smartsheet. Okay, be honest. How many times today did a DM or email send you on some wild goose chase when you should have been focusing on being productive? No matter how many times you were distracted today, you don't have to be embarrassed. It's okay, we all do it. But just because we all do it doesn't mean we have to all do it. Smartsheet knows how easy it is to get distracted. They know how easily opening a new window to start a work task can turn into a series of rabbit holes, work-related and otherwise. And that's exactly why Smartsheet designed a seamless all-in-one platform that allows you to flow between tasks. Smartsheet customers know that Smartsheet is a distraction-free zone. Smartsheet is the place where work flows. Learn more at smartsheet.com/Vox.
All month long, Paramount Plus celebrates Women Who Move Mountains, a special collection of series and movies spotlighting remarkable women's stories and talents in front of and behind the camera. The collection includes the badasses who take on covert operations, deep space, and even the afterlife in hit originals Lioness, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and School Spirits. Watch Zoe Saldana, Rebecca Romaine, Peyton List, and more in the Women Who Move Mountains collection. Head to ParamountPlus.com to learn more about Women Who Move Mountains.
So I am curious. We are team sport people. You are individual sport people. So I am really curious just what that is like in terms of it just being all about you. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way. Everything revolves around you. It's about you. The win is you, but the loss is you. So what is that experience like for somebody like myself? I've never played individual sports.
It's rough. Look, if I could have made it as a professional basketball player or soccer player, I would have done that. It just wasn't in the cards for me. It's interesting because it is 100% just you out there on the track. You're responsible for your race and the decisions you make out there. But like getting to the start line, you have a team around you. You have your training partners, your coach, you have your, for me, Emma, my partner, is like my person. And, so I have so many people in my corner who help me prepare for that moment. And so, it's, I don't know, I guess I don't know any difference. I mean, I played soccer growing up, but, and I definitely miss being on a team, but I mean, I have incredible people that I train with, like up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and like, I train with my competitors. It's such an interesting thing of like, sometimes for races, like I'll warm up with the people I'm about to go race. Like it's an interesting, like you find community, I think, elsewhere when you don't have that built-in team around you.
Is Emma like giving you tips?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
She's a former runner, correct?
Yeah, no, she current runner.
Current runner.
Yeah.
Current runner.
So we're in it together. Yeah, we run together almost every day.
I love that.
Yeah, sometimes we get in fights on runs, but
Yeah, no one thought you didn't. It's like, imagine me. I mean, I feel like I have tried to give you tips at some points, and I think early on, and then I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't even play basketball. This is insane.
I know. At least Emma runs.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying tips are gonna arise. Yeah.
Gabby, what about you? Do you have like a similar team?
Yeah. I came from a team background as well. I grew up actually playing both soccer and basketball. And for me, I got into track kind of with that team mindset. Like when I was even choosing my college to go run at, it was really from the lens of, okay, which team has the best culture and which team do I feel like I can thrive in? Like, are they going to push me? Are they going to hold me accountable? Are we going to, push each other? Are we going to be like sisters? Is there a familial feel here? And I think funny enough, my college coach, when he was recruiting me, he sent me this article on the UConn women's basketball team. And it was this really thorough article about the team culture and the dynamics and how they became great essentially and kind of created this legacy. And that's when I was like, yeah, this is the school I want to be at. This is the type of environment that I want and the type of coach that I want. And that team feel was what really helped me, grow the foundation that I have now to be a track athlete. And as I transitioned from college to the professional level, it definitely got a lot more lonely. I mean, you don't really have a built-in team. It's almost like I had to kind of form my own. Like I had to pick my coach. I had to make sure that the training group that I was with was a good fit for me. You have to pick your physio, nutritionist, and all of that. All of these people that are, kind of with you, but not with you when you're on the line. You kind of have to make that yourself, especially in a sport like track where we don't have a league that is building it for you. So that was definitely a transition for me. But there's also something kind of beautiful about being in it on your own. It's like there is no hiding behind your teammates. There are no shortcuts at all. The work you put in is literally measured based off of what you do on the track. Like there's no hiding. If you are skipping out on eating right, if you are skipping workouts, it will show every single time because that's what track and field is. So in a way, it's kind of rewarding and you kind of fall in love with that process. But we definitely lean into the teammanship when we can because it's really necessary. I mean, you don't get anywhere by yourself. And so we lean into that when we can.
That's something I learned from Sprint, actually, which I loved. And I feel like is great for this conversation that we're having, but just in general, so much is like unknown about women's sports just because we don't have, the history or the series or the documentaries, but just how much, I mean, you said it's like you're training against people and I saw you nodding, like you're training against your competitors. I mean, I guess we are too in a way, like, some people are going to start, some people aren't, but you're like all.
But then when the game
team
starts, you're all on the same team, whereas you are racing against.
You're like
at the Olympics, you're racing against other Americans.
I'm about to beat
They're
you.
like your biggest competition.
Right.
I guess it's just something that you guys know, but it is a really interesting dynamic of like you're all working together until you're not.
Yeah, and I think
like
especially
I'm trying to get this $10,000.
Exactly. And it's cutthroat out there. I mean, you're competing for like $10,000, but especially when you're a sprinter and we have the relays when it comes to the Olympics too, and that is the weirdest transition. I think it's like, okay, we are actual competitors, and especially in the 4x100 meters, where like that's the shortest sprinting event. I mean, you want to rip each other's heads off like literally every other second of the sport, right? Like we're training against each other, we're competing against each other, and it's a really intense competition where like you have to be just in a different headspace, in a different mindset. Like these are not your friends. And then the next day, go to relay practice together and figure out how to pass the baton and trust each other and be a part of a team. So that's definitely a switch that the relay girls kind of have to deal with in sprinting and the 4x4 as well. But the 400, I think, is less of an intense headspace. I think it's more, I always tell people with the relays, like the 4x1 is interesting because the vibe of sprinting is just very different from kind of like the distance vibes. And I liken the 400 girls to kind of like the mid-distance girls where everyone's like really, really good friends and everything's friendly and you race against each other and it's like, it's all good. But with the shorter sprints, the shorter you go, the less it's like that.
That feels right.
Yeah.
that seems right. Okay, a really hard-hitting question. Gabby, you're a short sprinter. Nikki, you're a short distance runner. It's like the same thing, but different. Just a little bit longer. Who's faster? We argue forever and incessantly and constantly about who would be better, could be better, who's faster. We can't do it now because neither of us are even close to our prime, nor were we when we met. So it was like, who's faster? It's like, all theoretical.
Whenever the question is posed, I'm like, how old am I?
Yeah.
Am I 18? How am I answering this question?
Who's faster? You or
That's
Nikki?
not fair.
Nikki or Gabby?
Gabby is faster.
Okay, what event?
But yeah,
you're talking about this backstage.
At what distance does
what
it
event could you
bounce
race
out?
and it be even enough to know who's faster?
That is a really fun question. would say the 800 probably, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say 6, but you would,
yeah.
I think you'd still get me in a 6.
Oh, that's being generous, giving me a
Well, what's your
600.
AP?
I don't know. Can you do 800 though? That's
What's
a
your
long.
800?
That's
I
long.
would say backstage, they're like, well, what do you run the mile in? What do you run in the
Yeah, sure.
Hey, nice
Okay,
to meet
you're
you.
400.
That was the first question I asked them.
I loved it.
I ran 3 miles this morning. It took me 27 minutes on the treadmill, and I got off 8 times just because. I mean, it's like just because. I was like, I can just get off. This is crazy.
That's really cool.
So we think the 800?
I
Wait,
think
what
we'd
are the
have to
times?
be-
What's your 800 BR?
I've never run it. I've
think
never
I
gone
could-
that far.
I think I could beat you in an 8.
I think it's between
I'm
650
good
and
800.
750.
I think it's somewhere between there too.
Six.
Yeah.
I think you would get me in an 800 based off of your mile times. I am going to do one of Nikki's workouts on Tuesday. I'm terrified. I am bringing my group for backup, but it should be interesting.
Yes, it's
Something like
6
that.
by mile. So
Well, speaking of that,
6 of repeats, like.
yeah,
Okay.
I was going to say, what are the...
I'm like, that's 6 total miles.
6 by 1
No,
mile.
6 fast miles.
What are the different
Well-
regimens, like, between the different distances? Like, what's your regimen like? What's your regimen like when you go out to train?
Oh man, I mean, I run 70 miles a week, so probably in
You're like a commuter.
the gas from the crowd.
Like the audible gas from the room.
You need an electric leg or something.
So I think that actually is what shocks people most about like distance runners training is like I run 1 mile, like that's my race, but I'm running 70 of them throughout the week. Obviously they're much slower than my race pace, you know, like yesterday I ran 12 miles, just, you know, probably 7:30 pace, you know, it's just like, and then I'm on Tuesday, on like Friday, I'm doing like speed work, like, you know, running 60 seconds for a 400. Like it's a really quite the range. And then I'm sure, and then I do some weightlifting, but it's like, it's more just like injury prevention. And then I'm sure your training is like, is a lot of weights. It is a lot of sprinting. Like it's very different, even though we're the same sport. And yeah, could not be more different when it comes to our training.
Yeah, we were
So
talking.
Tuesday's going to be
backstage.
tough.
Tuesday's
I'm like, are you
very
running
tough.
7 miles in a week?
Not
Or-
even.
Yeah, what's your weekly?
Yeah,
mileage?
you're like,
My
no.
weekly mileage, I think we run, what is it, like an average of 2,500 meters or 3,000 meters a day, whether we
Okay,
break it
that's
up
like
in
2
intervals.
miles.
Okay, yeah.
That's
Okay.
like 14 mile weeks.
Okay, maybe, yeah, probably a little less. On our longer days, we're running about 3,000 meters, so that might be like Monday and Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursday are our really intense sprinting days.
A high intensity.
Right, very high intensity, right. So we were talking backstage, and I think the longest we go is probably your short sprint day. So the 6x400 is, I've never run anything longer than a 400 in training, other than my mile time trial, which was awful. It was terrible, but we do a lot of, short sprinting, high intensity interval training, and really heavy weight room stuff. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah.
We're not going to be doing either of what you guys are doing.
Come out on Tuesday, guys.
Absolutely not. Things would be ripped off of bones. And just, it'd be a whole thing. Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit. Nikki, we wanted to ask you about your personal experience being trans, non-binary, professional athlete at the Olympics, just in the professional sports space. So much of the dominant narrative and sort of the meta narrative, it like just excludes people's personal experience and the athlete's personal experience. So we want to hear from you. What is that experience like, and how has that been for you in your career?
Yeah, so March of 2021, I came out as trans non-binary and started using they, them pronouns. And it was really like a scary, at the time I was really nervous and scary. I was like, okay, how is this gonna work? How is my sport gonna make space for me? I was like, are people gonna be able to adjust to using they, them pronouns or more inclusive language? So I think there was like definitely some fear, but ultimately it was very important that I started showing up as myself. And so took that leap of faith. It's now 4 years later, coming up on the anniversary, and I could not be more proud of track and field and the way they've, you know, the people in the sport have shown up and made space for me. Like, I think it took a couple years, but like now whenever the broadcasters or announcers are talking about, my race, they use they, them pronouns. And there's, Kara Goucher, she's a NBC broadcaster. She's like flawless every time. So she's like kind of the new standard of like, okay, we can get this right. And it's not this big, weird, arbitrary thing. And so, yeah, I think, if you would have told me 4 years ago that at the Olympic final in the 1500, there'd be someone standing on the start line and using they, them pronouns, like, I don't think I would have believed you. And it just brings me a lot of hope. And yeah, I just know that would have meant so much for younger me. And so I think I think sports can set the stage for what is possible. And I really think track and field, when it comes to me and my identity, has really made a lot of space for that.
Yeah. It is really brave. It is very brave. It shouldn't have to be, but it is. And you're incredibly courageous to do what you do. And the world did not burn down. It's crazy.
Yeah, Megan and I have talked a lot about on our podcast about this term protecting women and girls in sports and how it's being used in a way, especially politically, that's very flawed, misleading, harmful, because it only focuses on trans athletes, when the reality is there's so many other things that are impacting the world of women's sports. And that never seems to get the focus, whether it's, not only does it get the focus, it's never talked about how it's gonna be stopped, right? Whether it's, a study came out around the women's NCAA tournament and the online hate that they were receiving, disproportionate to what the men were receiving. Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark, they've recently had stalkers, like the type that you had to arrest and go to jail for type stuff. Angel Reese attacked with AI. Megan gets hate mail constantly.
Regularly.
My sister actually got a text message during the World Cup that said, please tell your sister to tell her boyfriend Macaulay Culkin to shut the fuck up. So that's the kind of stuff that's happening. It's kind of funny. We laughed a little bit, and then you have the moment of like, wow, this person got my sister's phone number, and it's pretty scary. Which leads me to my next question for both, but Gabby, I'll start with you. What does protecting people of all genders in sports look like?
Well, I think it looks like having no tolerance for that, right? I think that there's kind of this dynamic, especially online, where it is okay and almost encouraged and funny to harass women, and especially women in sports. And I get it. Like, people are saying, you're a public figure, you're an athlete, like you should be accepting this, and men take it all the time and this and that. But no, it does feel like there is there's a large target on women athletes' backs. And it's very intentional. And especially if you are a woman athlete, a female athlete who is kind of just breaking the mold in whatever you're doing, right? If you're pushing the sport forward, or you're pushing society forward, or kind of changing narratives, I mean, there's so much hate for it. So I think we start with, no, there's no tolerance for that. And I know Alexis Ohanian is he's one of my partners, and who's also working on a women's track league, is starting a new social media platform called Inner Circle, where that stuff just is not tolerated. Like,
so it's possible. It's possible,
right? Like, you can't go and harass a female athlete just because you feel like you're entitled to do so. You can't just decide to show up at their house or at their flight gate or find their phone numbers or anything, right? Because that's just, it's not tolerated. And even when I was going through the harassment every time I was traveling these past couple of months, just being told that I should accept it, and that's part of my life, and I'm an athlete, so get over it. I mean, I'm not accepting that. Like, I have no tolerance for that. I did not sign up to being stalked or harassed just because I'm very good at my job and just because I want to represent my country. Thank you. So no, I think we stand up for it. I know online is a whole other thing, but even in common conversation, right, when we're just conversing with friends, or if you know someone who uses certain rhetoric when speaking about athletes, but especially women athletes, just no tolerance, right? It's making space for what we know what's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and on that same vein, it does start with like the small conversations with like people in your circle. If someone's being transphobic or purposely getting someone's pronouns wrong, it's just like a quick, hey, like I'm not cool with that, you know? And it's like, as athletes, we do have power. And like, if we say that's not cool, people are like, oh yeah, it's not cool. Like, you know, and
Exactly.
yeah, I think it's also just in policies or like in little ways, systems can be better at creating a safe space for, you know, athletes competing in the women's category, like getting people's pronouns correct and not assuming like gender and any gender identity compete in like any category. And like there's, I think, also hosting championships in places where maybe it's not safe for women or it's not safe for LGBTQ people. That needs to change. Like, what are we doing? Like, I know soccer's run into that, you know, and in our sport, we competed in Doha in 2019. It was just weird. Like, remember, it was the policies that like we got from USATF, our, you know, governing body. It was like, okay, so the women's team, you guys you have to wear tights when you go outside, you have to wear shirts, you have to blah, 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 like all this laundry list of things. And then it was like, men, you're fine, do whatever you want. And it's just like, why are we here? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, good point. No, it's a really good point.
No, I think it's something in this conversation that just like, it's just a house of cards. It all falls down immediately. Is that it's like basically what it boils down to is like what kind of woman is going to be acceptable, because a lot of the conversation is around, you know, trans athletes, but you said it's like, it's just anything being different. It's just being a woman. It's almost like, to bring Greta back into the conversation, that famous, Barbie monologue, it's almost like just the being a woman, just the audacity to be a professional athlete, to do whatever we are doing is the point. And I think for so many people, that's the conversation I want to get out there, because it's not just trans athletes that are being attacked. And yes, they are being attacked in an insane way, and it is like horrible, and that's just a human rights issue at this point in this country. But I think for athletes and for female athletes, just know that like that's not really where they're stopping. It's just it's all of us for whatever reason, for, you know, standing up for equal pay or for your own rights or for doing whatever it is that you're doing. It just seems like they always have a problem with everything. So we got to stick together. And like you said, it's just the no tolerance, and it's the putting in places where our sport and our athletes can be their full self so we can thrive and ultimately do what we're doing, which is kicking ass at sports all the time.
Yes.
Anyways, I just want to say that.
Gabby, earlier you mentioned Allison Felix being one of your role models. I believe it was seeing her on TV that kind of sparked it all for you. What was it like being on the same team, like competing with her?
Oh my gosh. It was a complete fangirl moment. I couldn't believe it. I remember I was in college and she was at the same track meet that I was. It was Mount Sac. And I remember like just taking like a stalker picture of her, which is so embarrassing. I shouldn't have done, but I did. And I was so excited about it because I always like saw myself in Allison, because she's just like this really like long leg, skinny like sprinter. And like, I was like, oh, I'm a long leg, like skinny sprinter. And then in Tokyo it was Olympic trials for Tokyo. So we were actually in Eugene, Oregon in 2021. Thank you. And I was in the lane next to her for the 200 meter final. And I literally could not believe it. Like, I could not believe that I was in a race with her, and I hadn't even made the team yet or anything. And I just remember thinking, okay, like I'm in lane 4, she's in lane 5, I gotta reel it in. Like I gotta dial it back and like focus on my race so I can make this team. And then I ended up running that race, and I won the race. And at that time, it was the fastest 200 since FloJo. So it was an incredible, incredible day. But I had made the team with Allison, and that's something that I hadn't even thought about that for myself. And I know you guys were talking before Nikki and I got on stage about how, you know, little girls, you want that opportunity for them to dream, just like little boys, to be in the professional sports space. And I was not that. I was not a little girl who dreamed of being a professional athlete, because you just don't think about it, right? It wasn't my era. And I hope it's a little bit different now, but I don't think it's where it needs to be. But in that moment, I did see myself as a professional runner, and I saw myself next to Allison, and it was so incredible and so meaningful. And I saw what that could be for little girls, and it changed my trajectory. It changed how I saw myself as a runner, but it also changed like what I wanted for the future of women's sports, right? Because it was such an impactful moment. So yeah, to answer your question in short, it was a dream come true.
Similarly, Nikki, you got asked the person, who's the person you needed when you were younger, right? What was the role model you would have needed? It sounds like, honestly, all of us really, we're not the same age, similar age, in that it was difficult to find people that you could look at, the see it, be it of it all. But your answer, not to embarrass you, I know you know what your answer was. Your answer was Megan Rapinoe. So
We're never lining up together on the race, though. Never gonna be lane 4 or 5.
But you are sitting up here with her now, and you are that person for other younger people. So can you talk about what that means?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thoroughly freaking out inside right now. I know I'm like playing it cool, but yeah, this is awesome, and it's you too. So like, it's both of you. Just seeing a queer relationship in sports like so publicly, and like seeing how it's so, obviously I'm sure you get a lot of hate, but like how it is so like well received, and like it's just life changing, like as a queer person to just have representation like that. And there's not a ton of non-binary athletes. I think there's a few though, and every single one of them I look up to. Quinn, soccer player, and Laisha Clarendon, and like they just like, I see a little bit of myself in every single trans person who's not afraid to like come out and like be seen and show up as themselves. And so it's representation is everything. And YouTube definitely played a huge part of that for me.
We do have bicker of the weeks on this show and whatnot. So sometimes people see too much of the couplehood. We're just not all
like
rosy over
everybody
here. No, I'm joking. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, Nikki, our production company, In Touch More, we have a project in the works with you, and to what you were saying, and Gabby, what you were saying about Allison, just being that person that so many little kids are gonna look up to. We can't say a lot about the project, but like, how are you feeling about potentially sharing a little bit more of yourself and your story with the world, more than you already have, which is a lot?
I'm super excited. Yeah. Just to give a little bit of context, we're making a movie, guys.
Hey.
And it's, I think so much when it comes to trans athletes' stories, like so much of the media is telling stories that are not correct, or they're meant to be fear-based, or they're meant to spark, all this hate and fear. And I just think storytelling is such a beautiful way to share someone's story. Like, and I had a documentary crew following me the whole past year, so this whole Olympic year, and it's just a story, and it's a true story. It's the right story. It's about someone, and it's a sports story. It's about someone trying to make an Olympic team, and do they do it? Do they not? Spoiler, I do. And it's a trans person's story. It's navigating what it's like to be non-binary and compete in a binary sport. It's a love story. My partner's, I'm technically the main character, but I think Emma's going to be a second main character, and the world's going to fall in love with her. And I'm really excited for it. And I think it's just important to tell those stories, because that's how we change society, or the way people think about these things. I think when it comes to, gay marriage, like even 10 years ago, it was like, it just wasn't widely accepted because people just didn't know that many gay people, or 20 years ago, whatever it was. And like now it's like, when you know something or someone in their story, it's hard to hate, And I think you guys, like, being you and being yourself, like, is creating that, okay, I know Megan and Sue, and they're not like evil or like terrible. And I don't know, so I'm really, really excited for it.
Amazing. We're excited too. And I'm actually really excited for this next part, which is the games.
Oh gosh.
We've made it to the games, everybody.
This is where Sue thrives.
Yeah, I really love this part.
Favorite thing in life.
Are we familiar with bench, start, cut?
Sure.
I'm going to give you three. I'm going to give you three things. And one of them you're going to bench. They sit on the bench. The other one you start. They're in the game. The other one, they're out of there. Bench, start, cut. All right, Gabby, you're up first. Okay. We didn't get to talk about sleep. I wanted to hear your thoughts on coffee naps. We'll get there in the backstage. But Gabby has done like research on sleep. So, sleep, stretching, or ice baths?
Oh, okay, easy. We're gonna bench sorry, what was the middle one?
Stretching.
Stretching. Bench stretching. start sleeping, cut the ice baths.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's right. I don't.
That's
I
right.
don't
Ice
do
baths.
It's too cold.
Oh my God. I never did them. I never did them. Okay. Next up,
Validating.
Gabby, we're staying with you. Your Vogue cover, which was beautiful. Your picture with Rihanna, also beautiful. Or a honeydeuce at the U.S. Open. You've been busy.
Oh man, it's been an amazing few months. I'm gonna go with start the honeydeuce.
That's right.
Over a Vogue.
I was expecting that. Yeah.
We're gonna bench the Vogue, and I'm sorry, I love Rihanna so much, but we'll cut the Rihanna.
Fair.
That's good.
Fair.
That's
All
a
right,
good one.
Nikki, you're up. The 800, the 1500, or the 5,000.
We are cutting the 5,000.
All of us.
Yes, starting the 15, benching the
We should have added Megan on the treadmill to that one.
Yeah. Everybody would take that. It's the easiest.
Okay, you've trained. I know you train in elevation a lot. So running in the cold, like extreme cold, extreme heat, or elevation.
Oh, I don't like the heat. I think I'm cutting the heat, starting elevation. Yeah, benching cold. Yeah.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
sprinters ever train at elevation? Is that like
No.
a thing? Yeah, you don't need it.
It's like 10 seconds.
It's an endurance thing, Megan.
Well, you actually
obviously.
you run so much
Stupid question.
faster at elevation that
Yeah, the air's thinner.
Yeah, so if you train there, it probably wouldn't help you very much.
Yeah.
We need to get to elevation immediately.
Exactly.
Immediately.
We can run
Okay.
10 yards at a time.
Real quick, both of you just give your 3 favorite athletes of all time. Any sport.
Oh, it could be current or past. Doesn't matter.
Whatever you want.
Okay, let's go.
I just want to cheat and be like these 3.
Right?
I actually want you to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be these 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is going to get interesting, folks.
All
Gabby?
right. I mean, I'll go Serena Williams. Of course. I love the tenacity. I love what she's done. Trailblazer. As far as, Allison Felix, I see so much of myself in her, and I love what she does for just pushing society forward too, using a voice. She's why I do what I do. And then the third, gosh, that's so hard. There's so many. Oh gosh.
Simone. Yep.
Simone is really, I love Simone. I will put Simone in there.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Good ones.
Okay, so now you got to bench, start, cut those.
How did we not see this coming? Oh my.
Tough luck, Nick. Tough luck,
Sue's
Nikki.
ruthless
What's
when
the
it comes to
game
this
that
game.
we're playing? Okay, if we're running track,
Yeah, true.
However you want to do
What's
it.
the context?
Yeah, do running
I'm
track.
starting Gabby.
Yeah. Oh, you really put yourself in a.
You're in a pickle.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Megan. I'm gonna cut.
That
cut
feels
Megan.
right. That does feel right.
And bench Sue.
It hurts, but it feels right.
I think it's for the best.
I am starting Serena, purely just mindset. Just I love it. We're going to. I know.
It's unfair game.
How do I? We're gonna bench Allison and cut Simone.
No. It's a
feels
game,
right.
guys.
That
We
feels
have
right.
to choose.
Yeah.
Those
Boo
were
from the
excellent
crowd.
choices.
Booze.
We're going to clip it, send it to Simone. It's fine.
All right.
I'm impartial because track.
Before we wrap it up, we are going to do an Are You Megan or Are You Sue? You guys can participate. You guys can all participate.
Yeah.
This week's Are You Megan, Are You Sue is do you fall asleep with the TV on or off? I do like it on. Megan does not.
No. We are in a 8-year battle royale over this.
So
Sometimes I get her to put it on the iPad on the side.
Yeah.
That feels like a win.
with my pods, which is not comfortable. I'm like, I'd rather just go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm with it off. I need quiet.
Yeah.
But I like the fan noise. I like a white noise in the
yeah,
background. but
Gabby's a
not
sleep researcher. She's not having the TV on.
I
True.
can imagine.
I just committed like
It's loud
the biggest
sometimes.
offense of all time.
She just turned
lulls
it way
me.
down.
Oh yeah, it's way down. It's usually subtitles too.
I
And
honestly
I'm
usually
like,
fall asleep too. But
yeah, I like it. Lulls me right to sleep. Audience on. Off. right.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yikes.
Well, I know who I'm not dating out there. Guys, listen, this is a back-to-back live show experience.
Yeah.
And I just want to say we're 2 for 2 and ending on time. This is
Which like we're
unheard of.
never on time.
Gabby, Nikki, thank you both so much. This was an amazing conversation. Thank you everybody for coming. That is it for our show. That is it for our episode.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See you guys next week.
Thanks to Smartsheet for their support. Blockers, friction, and distractions destroy human potential, and yet the workplace is full of them. Smartsheet is designed to remove friction and allow work to flow. Its innovative platform is designed to align with diverse work styles rather than forcing teams to adapt to inflexible systems. Whether your team is managing projects or scaling operations, Smartsheet gives you the tools to cut through the chaos and keep work flowing. With Smartsheet, the extraordinary is just another day at work. Smartsheet, where work flows. Visit smartsheet.com today to learn more.
Support for A Touch More comes from Intuit. Reaching the right small businesses starts with the right data. Intuit SMB Media Labs is a first-of-its-kind small business ad network. With access to audiences and insights from the makers of QuickBooks, you can target key decision makers by industry, size, maturity, location, and more. It's your gateway to B2SMB marketing success. Learn more at medialabs.intuit.com. Paramount Plus celebrates Women Who Move Mountains, a special collection of series and movies spotlighting remarkable women's stories and talents. The collection includes all of your favorite leading ladies, including Academy Award-winning actresses Michelle Yeoh, Kathy Bates, and Helen Mirren. Watch Yeoh as Emperor Philippa Georgiou in Section 31, the newest addition to the Star Trek universe. Don't miss Bates in the reimagining of Matlock, and catch Mirren as she defends the Dutton legacy in the newest season of 1923. Head to ParamountPlus.com to learn more about Women Who Move Mountains.